Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to the English News Bulletin here on Rwanda Television. And as we go through this commemoration period, we stand together and send our comfort to genocide survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Let's kick off the edition with the headlines. The First Lady, Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame, has commended the genocide survivors organization Ibuka for its 30 years journey of resilience. Researchers in history find that genocide is a preventable crime. However, they point out that the main challenge remains the lack of political will to stop it. My name is Olive, and it's always a pleasure to have you on board. Now let's take a look at the news in details. On Wednesday afternoon at Urugwiro village, President Paul Kagame received Honorable Ambassador Danny Dayan, Chairperson of the Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center in Jerusalem. Honorable Dayan is in Kigali to participate in the National Kwibuka 32 Remembrance Ceremony and the International Conference on the Genocide Prevention. Their discussions centered on the power of commemoration in rebuilding and unifying nations after genocide and its critical role in combating genocide denial. President Paul Kagame also met with Professor Chaloka Beyani, UN Under-Secretary General and Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide to the Secretary General, and on the sidelines of the National Kwibuka 32 Remembrance activities. Their discussions focused on the collective responsibility of the international community in identifying and responding to early warning signs of genocide, drawing on the lessons of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Moving ahead, the First Lady, Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame, has commended the Genocide Survivors Organization Ibuka for its 30-year journey of resilience and ensuring that the memory of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi remains alive. Her Excellency made the remarks during the 30 years of Ibuka, an organization dedicated to advocating for the rights and welfare of genocide survivors. William Evans has the details.
Founded 3 decades ago, during a particularly difficult period, Ibuka faced numerous challenges. In its early years, its leaders often encountered obstacles that made it hard to fully achieve the organization's mission. In a process of establishing Ibuka committees in what used to be communes, some people, especially those connected to the crimes of the genocide against the Tutsi, would approach local leaders and try to discourage them from allowing us to set up Ibuka committees. This did not happen just once, but many times. Often, a leader would claim they were not yet available, which usually was a way of delaying the process. In most cases, these leaders were surrounded by individuals who had participated in the genocide against the Tutsi. Our work at Ibuka was not easy at the beginning. Despite this, survivors showed remarkable determination. Addressing members of Ibuka, Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame highlighted how many chose to rise above their painful past and work together with others to rebuild the country.
Nongere mbwire abarokotse jenoside yakorewe abatutsi nti impore.
Allow me once again to say to genocide survivors, be comforted. Thank you for choosing to live so that those who died would not be forgotten. Thank you for allowing yourselves to carry wounds so that together we can join hands in building the Rwanda they did not live to see. A Rwanda where young generations have the chance to be born, to grow, and to build a united nation. As we mark 30 years since Ibuka was established, allow me together with you to appreciate those who played a role in its creation, as well as other organizations that walked alongside it on this journey. They found the courage to start from nothing in a time filled with darkness and sorrow, yet they chose to build. I also extend my appreciation to Rwandans in general who continued to work together in supporting this organization. They gave it a voice, strengthened it, and stood with it in the mission of protecting and preserving the history of the genocide against the Tutsi, so that it will never be forgotten. Dear members of Ibuka, this was not an easy path. You accepted to walk through sorrow when it was most difficult, and you remained patient. Be at peace. Nothing should trouble you. The resilience you have shown is beyond measure, and no one can question it. There are many things we are proud of today that continue to guide us on this journey. Yet choosing forgiveness stands above all. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It is a profound strength of the heart. It is the courage to refuse to remain imprisoned by hatred that gives rise to resentment.
The collaboration with the government, Ibuka has played a key role in improving survivors' lives, supporting access to education, healthcare, and housing, while also contributing significantly to justice and accountability efforts. Survivors credit the organization as a vital foundation in helping them rebuild their lives.
I sleep peacefully knowing that no one will chase me out of my home. I sleep peacefully knowing that no one will come to insult me as they used to. They even gave me a cow, and my children were able to drink milk again.
The establishment of Ibuka was made possible by two main reasons. The first was the stopping of the genocide against the Tutsi by those who were then soldiers of the Rwanda Patriotic Front, led by His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic. Had they not rescued us, we would not be here today to tell this story. Therefore, gatherings like this is a moment to express gratitude for the good leadership of our country, led by His Excellency Paul Kagame, and for his significant role in stopping the genocide, liberating the country, and restoring peace. Today, we are able to live in peace, engage in activities that build our future, and also establish strategies to achieve lasting development. The First Lady also called on young people to safeguard the country's hard-earned peace and security, urging them to stand against anything that might seek to return Rwanda to a dark past.
Young people, let us not be complacent by telling ourselves that peace and security alone are enough. Sitting idly and doing nothing would be a mistake. We still see people who try to deny and distort history. Dear young people, our children, we will never regret the choices we made in building a Rwanda that we envisioned, one that is good for all of us. The choices we have made should also guide yours. The responsibility is ours, and it is yours as well.
Recent reforms have strengthened unity among survivor organizations, bringing together ALG, GLG, and Ibuka to enhance cooperation and improve the well-being of survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi.
Now, researchers in history and authors find that genocide is a preventable crime because it is planned over a long period of time. They point out that the main challenge is often the lack of political will from the international community and its partners to act against genocide and its ideology. These were highlighted during an international conference on genocide prevention held in Kigali on Wednesday. Adam Squizera has details.
The conference was attended by First Lady Jeannette Kagame and featured discussions focusing on the journey of survivors of the genocide against Tutsi, the resilience of Rwandans, hope for the future, and the prevention of genocide ideology in the region. Eric Murangwa Ejan, founder of Ishami Foundation, emphasized that preventing genocide and combating its ideology requires investing in young people so they grow up with the right values and awareness.
We've established this working system of taking survivors into schools to make sure that the authenticity of their testimonies are shared and given to the young people at the very early stages to make sure that the younger people who encounter survivors understand the difference between the real stories and what they read in books or what they listen in different places.
On the issue of genocide ideology, Dani Dayan, chairman of Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center in Jerusalem, noted that the genocide is prepared over a long period before it is executed, making prevention possible. He added that education on history is a key tool in preventing genocide.
What Rwanda has aptly defined as genocide ideology reminds us that mass violence is prepared long before it is executed. And it reminds us also that education, grounded in truth and in historical integrity, is one of the most powerful tools of prevention.
Participants at the conference also raised concern over the continued presence of the genocide ideology in the region, particularly in the eastern DRC, where it is reportedly supported by genocidal militia, FDLR.
After genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda, the genocidaires did not cross only with the weapons. They have also crossed with the genocide ideology against Tutsi and in Tutsi Congolese, already affected by discrimination. Few examples to emphasize this. In 1995, in Uvira, the commissioner called Shweka ordered Banyamulenge to leave Uvira, and they started seizing their property. 1996, the governor of Bukavu, called Lwasi Lwabanji Ngabo, gave Tutsi Banyamulenge 1 week to leave the country, and this was followed by massive killing Tutsi Banyamulenge in different villages such as Bibogobogo, Kabela, Uvira, and many other places in DRC.
The Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Jean Damascene Bizimana, also emphasized that genocide ideology continues to be observed in the region, in some cases being spread by leaders and on social medias. The conference brought together more than 500 participants, including government officials, diplomatic corps, as well as representatives of the genocide survivors associations. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Now, Rwanda has once again renewed global calls for strong action to prevent genocide as experts and leaders gathered in Kigali for an international conference held alongside the 32nd commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Speakers at the conference warned that despite lessons from Rwanda and the world continues to fall short in preventing mass atrocities. Addressing the conference, Chaloka Beani, the United Nations Under-Secretary General and Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide, underscored the role of state responsibility and international failure, pointing to the lessons of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, emphasizing missed warning and inaction.
The crime of genocide cannot be committed without state failure or complicity, and because it is a process, and it takes time to plan and execute it, therein lies an opportunity to prevent it. In 1994, the international community, including the United Nations, failed Rwanda. The early warning signs were there. The information was relayed to the relevant institutions like the UN and the OAU then. The capitals of those countries with influence and capability to prevent genocide were informed. But still, and in spite of all of these, genocide against the Tutsis was committed in this country.
Now, Professor Beani also warned that similar risks persist across the region, including Sudan, the Middle East, and the Great Lakes region. He called for a shift from early warning to early action through stronger global and regional cooperation.
Looking at the dire situation of conflicts around the world, from Sudan to the Middle East, to the volatile situation of the Great Lakes, we are still coming short in upholding our obligations to prevent genocide and other atrocity crimes. It is our collective responsibility to prevent genocide. We must translate early warning into early action. We must collaboratively not only work within the United Nations system, but also with regional organizations like the AU, the International Conference on the Great Lakes, IGAD, the East African Community, ECOWAS, amongst others, national institutions, community and religious leaders, civil society, women, youth, academia, and the media. We must reject hatred, inflammatory rhetoric and incitement to violence, hostility, discrimination, and genocide. Rwanda has demonstrated that reconciliation is possible with effective promotion of justice, social cohesion, education, targeted efforts to counter intolerance, as well as memorialization of the crime of genocide. As we remember the horrors that took place 32 years ago, let us redouble our efforts to help build resilient societies by ensuring that fundamental rights and freedoms must be guaranteed and protected, particularly non-discrimination. The best way to honor the victims and survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda is to guarantee that no one else endures this most heinous of crimes. This is a call, and it is an obligation of all of us.
The conference also drew reflections from global memory institutions, with Dani Dayan, chairperson of the Yad Vashem, reflecting on the responsibility of memory and the dangers of ignoring early signs of hatred.
I come from Jerusalem, a city where memory is not only preserved in books and archives, but lives in stone, in language, in daily life. A place where the past is never distant and where the responsibility to remember is part of our very existence. The tragedy of Rwanda was not only what was done, but also what was not done. Genocide does not begin with killing. It begins with ideas, deadly ideas.
Now, drawing from his roots in Jerusalem, Honorable Dayan emphasized that remembrance must go beyond words. He urged leaders to act before hatred escalates into violence.
Remembering is not enough. Prevention requires vigilance, education, and the moral courage of states and leaders. The moral courage of states and leaders to act before hatred becomes violence. In Jewish tradition, we say, Yehi Zichram Baruch. May their memory be a blessing. To be booked. Let us remember them. And let our remembrance be expressed not only in words, but also in the courage to ensure that no people, anywhere, at any time, will ever again stand alone in the face of hatred.
Now moving ahead, the Embassy of Rwanda in the Republic of Congo, in collaboration with Rwandans living there, organized the 32nd commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. The event took place at the Pierre Savourgan de Brazza Memorial and was attended by senior government officials of the Republic of Congo, representatives of various countries and international organizations, non-governmental organizations, business institutions, and Friends of Rwanda. Rwanda's ambassador to Congo, Parfait Busabizwa, emphasized that commemoration is about honoring the victims of the genocide against the Tutsi, supporting survivors, and appreciating those who stopped the genocide and liberated the country. He explained that although progress has been made, there are still challenges, mainly related to genocide ideology, which continues to be seen, especially in the region, where terrorist groups such as the FDLR continue to spread hatred and destabilize security, targeting Tutsi and Banyamulenge in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. He concluded by urging everyone to learn from history so that genocide never happens again anywhere in the world, and encouraged the international community to punish those responsible who are on their territory. He also thanked the Republic of Congo for the good relations and cooperation it maintains with Rwanda. During the event, a message from the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres was read by his representative, Gon Myers. Now, in Musanze district, during the 32nd commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, particularly the former Mukingo commune, testimonies from survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi from the former Mukingo commune describe how the killings of Tutsi began as early as the 90s. This is considered clear evidence that the genocide was planned, contrary to claims by those who deny or try to distort the history. They say these acts of violence were orchestrated by Interahamwe militia who were in this commune at the time, along with some religious figures and prominent politicians originating from the area. The former Mukingo commune is now part of the sectors of Busogo sector, Gataraga sector, and Shingiro sector in Musanze district. During a dialogue on the history of the genocide against the Tutsi and how it was planned, Eli Nduwayesu used examples from his personal experiences and what he witnessed to refute those who deliberately deny or distort the history. However, survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi in this area say they have made significant progress in rebuilding their lives. The governor of the northern province, Maurice Mugabagahunde, urged residents to distance themselves from anything that could undermine the unity of Rwandans. During the 32nd commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi in the former Mukingo commune, more than 400 victims were honored. They are laid to rest at the Busogo Genocide Memorial, having been killed starting from the 90s. Now, thank you for joining us today, Bulletin. We wish you a good night.